In the early 1970s, Donald Trump was the brash heir to his father's empire, a young property developer desperate to make his mark on U.S. history. Roy Cohn had already made a name for himself as one of America's most uncompromising lawyers, a great white shark in the legal world. One day, they met by chance at Le Club, a trendy New York restaurant frequented exclusively by Manhattan's rich and famous. Trump recognized Cohn, who was sitting at a nearby table, and sought his advice. How should he and his father respond to the Justice Department's accusations that their company had systematically discriminated against black people? "I'd tell them to go to hell," the lawyer calmly replied, and would wage a real war in court. Roy Cohn rose to fame in the 1950s when he was hired by Senator Joseph McCarthy. He became not only the politician's lawyer, but also his hand hunter for communist criminals. Gradually, Cohn's client network grew. Within 20 years, he had become an influential figure in New York City, using his many connections in the courts and the mayor's office to help friends and punish enemies. Among his close contacts were FBI Director John Edgar Hoover and Manhattan mob boss Anthony Fat Tony Salerno. Roy Cohn's appearance was in perfect harmony with his intimidating professional image: frowning eyebrows, prominent nose, thin lips, and heavy-lidded, clear blue eyes. A fellow lawyer, James D. Zirin, described him as the strangest-looking man I ever met, with a face always distorted by a sarcastic grin that gave the impression of unbridled bitterness. Indeed, many people found his appearance repulsive, but on personal acquaintance, people's opinions often changed. Roy Cohn had an amazing charisma and wit that won over his interlocutors. Roy Cohn was born in New York City in 1927 to a wealthy Jewish family. His father was interested in politics and was a member of the Democratic Party and served on the state Supreme Court. Roy received an excellent education. He studied at elite New York schools, after which he effortlessly entered Columbia Law School. Immediately after graduation, the ambitious and talented young man was offered a job in the prosecutor's office in Manhattan. At the age of 23, Roy Cohn became the lead prosecutor in the so-called nuclear espionage case. A Jewish couple, Julius and Ethel Rosenberg, were accused of a criminal conspiracy to transfer nuclear secrets to the Soviets. The trial lasted about 6 months and attracted great public attention. Despite the defendant's denial of guilt, the evidence was overwhelming, so the judge was well aware that the Rosenbergs would not escape punishment. But did they deserve the death penalty? The judge could not make a final decision. Right at the last hearing in the Rosenberg case, he left the courtroom, went down to Park Avenue, went into a phone box, and dialed Roy Cohn's number. According to the lawyer's recollection, the judge wanted his opinion on whether the woman, like her husband, should be sentenced to capital punishment. "I am fully convinced that she is even worse than Julius," Roy Cohn replied briefly and stiffly. On 5 April 1951, both defendants were sentenced to death. It was the first and only death sentence for peacetime espionage in American history. In 1953, Roy Cohn became chief counsel to the Senate Permanent Select Committee on Investigations, which was chaired by Joseph McCarthy. The main purpose of this governmental body was to clean up Soviet spies who were operating in the territory of the states. And Senator McCarthy was the bellicose leader of this witch hunt. Dozens died of heart attacks after interrogations or committed suicide. McCarthy kept the entire American elite in fear, but their patience finally ran out when the senator lashed out at the army and war heroes. Roy Cohn, who was very involved in the committee, also became part of that sordid story. a lawyer friend named J. David Shine had been drafted into the Army, but faced the possibility of being sent overseas to serve. Afterwards, Roy Cohn, with McCarthy's support, publicly declared that he would ruin the Army if his comrade was not allowed to serve his country on United States soil. Army leaders accused them of trying to get special treatment for Shine. McCarthy and Cohn then went on the counteroffensive. They claimed that there was a clear communist trail among high Army officials. At that point, they crossed the line, after which not only President Nixon, but also one-party congressmen turned their backs on them. That didn't dampen the witch hunters' fervor. Roy Cohn was so belligerent at the hearings that the Army's defense lawyer had to ask his famous question, "Do you have any sense of decency, sir, after all?" A sense of propriety was indeed foreign to Roy Cohn, but in his profession, it was a plus rather than a minus. He wouldn't admit that he and McCarthy had gone too far. He didn't recognize that thousands of innocent people had suffered because of him. When it became obvious that the collapse of McCarthy's career was just around the corner, Roy Cohn left Washington. Settling in New York, Roy Cohn began building a private law practice and fairly quickly acquired a large client base that included some of America's most prominent politicians, developers, businessmen, and even clerics. When Roy Cohn was at the height of his influence, no one could do anything in New York politics and real estate without turning to him, recalled Alan Dershowitz. The lawyer's services were used by media mogul Rupert Murdoch, New York Yankees baseball team owner George Steinbrenner, as well as the founders of the famous New York club, Studio 54, Steve Rubel, and Ian Schrager. Read also 5 incredible stories that could only happen in Studio 54. Roy Cohn took an active part in Ronald Reagan's election campaign, and the wife of the future president of America often called the lawyer for legal advice or just a friendly chat. Roy Cohn's reputation ran ahead of him. So when Donald Trump happened to meet him at Le Club, he knew immediately that this was the man he needed. It wasn't long before Donald Trump's father's company came on the pencil of the Department of Justice. Black Americans began to complain to the authorities that they were systematically denied rent in Trump's apartment complexes without any good reason. Then the feds conducted their own inspection. They sent a fake African American who wanted to rent a flat. Trump Organization representatives responded that they had no available space for rent. However, when the black candidate was followed by a white man with the same request, the company offered him several flats to choose from. The commission's conclusions were obvious. Trump Organization violates not only ethical norms, but also American laws. Lawyers from a Wall Street law firm advised Donald Trump to cooperate with the authorities in order to get off with little blood, that is, to plead guilty. Trump was not happy with this solution. Roy Cohn proposed a very different solution: attack the feds back. On behalf of Donald Trump, he accused government lawyers of using illegal, almost Gestapo-like methods to coerce testimony out of witnesses. The amount of his counterclaim was $100 million. It was an unexpected and dirty move that shocked the public. But this is what Roy Cohn and Donald Trump wanted: to disorient the prosecution, to make it panic. However, the judge showed professionalism and judgment, rejecting all the incredible arguments of Roy Cohn and refusing to consider the counterclaim. Trump still had to enter into an agreement with the authorities that prohibited the Trump Organization from discriminating against any person in the sale or rental of housing, and agreed to 2 years of government oversight. However, despite the apparent loss, Roy Cohn declared victory. His example was followed by Donald Trump. In the late 1970s, the future American president met Czechoslovakian model Ivana Zelníková, with whom he began an affair. Read also, when it came to the wedding, Roy Cohn intervened. He strongly advised his client to conclude a prenuptial agreement, according to which in case of divorce, Ivana had to return to Donald all his gifts. Having familiarized herself with the document prepared by Roy Cohn, the bride became furious. As a result, the lawyer had to make small concessions. He allowed Ivana to leave clothes and jewelry, and also included in the agreement a deposit for a rainy day, the size of which amounted to $100,000. Roy Cohn also provided great assistance to Donald Trump in the development of his property development business, in particular in the construction of Trump Plaza and Trump Tower. The lawyer introduced his client to the right people in the city administration and secured tax incentives for Trump's large-scale projects. He also put the entrepreneur in touch with the heads of mafia groups and union leaders who at the time controlled the construction industry in New York. Thanks to his lawyer, Donald Trump signed a material supply agreement with S&A Concrete, which was partially owned by the Genovese gangster family. He also secured the support of John Cody, a truckers' union official, a notorious racketeer who had serious connections in the mayor's office. It was rumored that if any new construction project in Manhattan did not like Cody, he was waiting for an unenviable fate. As his friend Roy Cohn was able to convince him that Donald Trump's company was trustworthy. In the autumn of 1984, Roy Cohn learned that he had AIDS, and at the same time, new investigations into his alleged crimes began. They were connected with a series of incidents that occurred several years before his acquaintance with Donald Trump and continued throughout the period of their business cooperation. The investigation managed to prove that the lawyer convinced his seriously ill multimillionaire client to make him his executor. The old man's consciousness was already foggy, and he was unable to move. So, as the nurse told under oath, Roy Cohn himself guided his hand while signing a legal document. The other incident involved a large debt owed by a lawyer that he had not repaid to his client for years. Roy Cohn, of course, denied everything, questioning the competence of those who accused him of wrongdoing. "They are a bunch of idiots who want to smear me," he said of the Federal Bar Association. The judge's opinion, however, was to the contrary. On 23 June 1986, Roy Cohn was taken into custody. Donald Trump, one of the few friends of the lawyer who knew of his diagnosis, later said that if Roy Cohn had not been so weakened, he would still be fighting. 6 weeks later, Roy Cohn passed away. He was 59 years old. 30 years later, the day after Donald Trump was elected President of the United States, a phone call rang in his office. It was Roger Stone, a longtime pal who wanted to congratulate Donald on his election victory. "Mr. President," Roger pompously began his speech. "Oh no, please, call me Donald," the former businessman interrupted him, and then added thoughtfully, "Roy Cohn must have been happy to see this moment too. How we miss him."